I was 60 years old the first time a man made my entire body shake with pleasure. The first time I felt that electric, uncontrollable release that women whisper about. The first time I understood what all the fuss was about. And God help me, it wasn't Robert. It wasn't the man I'd been married to for 40 years. It wasn't the father of my son. It was a stranger, young enough to be my child, whose calloused hands knew more about my body in 2 hours than my husband had learned in 4 decades. My name is Emma, and I'm here to tell you something that might shock you, might disgust you, or might make you realize you're not alone. For most of my life, I thought I was broken. I thought the fireworks, the earth-shattering climaxes, the pleasure that makes you forget your own name. I thought that was just something romance novels made up, something that happened to other women, younger women, sexier women, not to a small-town American wife who'd married her high school sweetheart and spent 40 years cooking dinners, raising a son, and pretending that 30 seconds of mechanical thrusting was intimacy. But I was wrong. So desperately, beautifully wrong. I met Robert when I was 19. He was my first boyfriend, my first kiss, my first everything. Back then, in our small Midwestern town, that's just what you did. You met a boy, you fell in love, you got married, you built a life. No one talked about passion or desire or whether the sex was good. You just did your duty as a wife. And if you felt that nagging emptiness afterward, well, that was normal. That was just how it was. The first few years, I actually enjoyed our intimate moments. They were brief, yes, mechanical, sure, but there was novelty in it, excitement and being wanted. Robert was intensely jealous back then, obsessively so. He'd interrogate me if I so much as smiled at the mailman. He needed to know where I was every second. At the time, I mistook his jealousy for love. I thought it meant he cared. I didn't realize I was slowly disappearing into his shadow, becoming smaller and smaller until I was just an extension of him, not a person in my own right. As the years crawled by, even that mediocre intimacy faded. What started as once or twice a week became once or twice a month, then even less. The encounters became colder, more perfunctory. He'd climb on top of me, finish in minutes, roll over, and fall asleep. I'd lie there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, wondering if this was really all there was, wondering if other women felt this hollow ache, this loneliness that had nothing to do with being alone. Our son grew up and moved across the country for work. The house that once echoed with laughter and life became a mausoleum of silence. Robert filled his time with poker nights, fishing trips, bowling leagues, anything that kept him out of the house, away from me. I couldn't even remember the last time we'd had sex. 6 months? A year? Did it even matter anymore? I thought my desire would fade with age. I prayed it would, actually. It seemed cruel that my body still burned with need when clearly I was never going to experience real satisfaction. But something strange happened as I approached 60. Instead of dimming, that fire roared hotter. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, my body aching with want, Robert snoring beside me like I didn't exist. That's when I started researching. Late at night, when Robert was asleep, I'd scroll through articles about female sexuality, watch lectures from sex therapists, read confessions from other women my age who felt exactly like I did. And that's when I discovered something that changed everything. I started touching myself in the shower, tentatively at first, then with more confidence. And after decades of thinking I was broken, I gave myself my first real orgasm. I was 59 years old, and I finally understood what I'd been missing my entire life. That first self-induced climax opened a door I didn't know existed. It was like discovering color after a lifetime of black and white. My body wasn't broken. I wasn't frigid or defective or too old. I was just a woman who'd never been properly touched, never been given the time or attention I deserved. And now that I knew what was possible, the hunger became almost unbearable. I tried talking to Robert about it. One evening over dinner, I suggested we could try new things, take our time, reconnect physically. He looked at me like I'd suggested we rob a bank. "We're too old for that nonsense, Emma," he said, shoveling mashed potatoes into his mouth. "That's for young people. We're past all that." And that was the end of the conversation. He went back to his food, and I went back to feeling invisible. The loneliness became suffocating. I'd watch younger couples in restaurants, seeing the way they looked at each other, touched each other casually, laughed together. I'd see the passion in their eyes and feel something like grief wash over me. When had Robert stopped looking at me like that? Had he ever? Or had I just been a convenient wife, a mother for his child, someone to cook and clean and warm his bed occasionally? My 60th birthday arrived on a Tuesday. I woke up that morning with a small flutter of hope. Maybe Robert would remember, maybe he'd plan something special, maybe for once I'd feel seen. But he was already dressed when I came downstairs, grabbing his keys and his tackle box. "Got a fishing trip with the guys," he announced. "Should be back late tonight. There's leftover casserole in the fridge if you get hungry." He didn't say happy birthday. He didn't even look at me. He just walked out the door, and I heard his truck rumbling down the driveway while I stood in my kitchen in my bathroom, 60 years old and more alone than I'd ever been in my life. I should have been used to it by then, but something about that particular betrayal, forgetting my 60th birthday, broke something inside me. I opened a bottle of wine at 10 in the morning, then another. I sat at my kitchen table, mascara running down my face, asking the empty house questions that would never be answered. Did I waste my life? Did I give everything to a man who saw me as furniture? Do women like me, invisible, aging, forgotten women, do we deserve pleasure? Do we deserve to be wanted? The doorbell rang at 2 in the afternoon. Through my tears and my wine-soaked haze, I remembered the air conditioner. We'd scheduled a repair weeks ago. The unit in our bedroom had been making terrible noises, barely cooling the room during these brutal summer months. I wiped my face, tried to compose myself, and opened the door. And that's when my life changed forever. He stood on my porch like something out of a fever dream. Mid-30s, maybe 40 at most, with dark hair, sun-bronzed skin, and arms that strained against his work shirt. He had kind eyes, the kind that actually saw you when they looked at you. "Mrs. Patterson, I'm here about the AC unit." His voice was deep, warm, respectful. He could have been my son. And yet, when he smiled, something low in my belly tightened in a way it hadn't in years. I'm sorry," I said. And I knew my voice was thick from crying, knew my eyes were red and puffy. "I'm having a bit of a rough day. Come in, please. The bedroom is upstairs, second door on the right." He nodded, picked up his toolbox, but then he paused. "Ma'am, if you don't mind me saying, are you okay? You seem upset." The genuine concern in his voice nearly broke me all over again. When was the last time someone had asked if I was okay? When was the last time anyone had cared? "It's my birthday," I heard myself say, the wine loosening my tongue. "My 60th birthday, and my husband forgot. He's out fishing with his friends, and I'm here alone, and I laughed bitterly. "I'm sorry, you don't need to hear this. Let me show you to the bedroom." I led him upstairs, acutely aware of how close he was behind me, how the house suddenly felt different with his presence in it. He went to work on the air conditioner while I sat on the edge of my bed, still holding my wine glass, watching him work. His muscles flexed as he maneuvered the unit, and I couldn't look away. He was so vital, so alive, so present in a way Robert hadn't been in decades. 60 doesn't seem possible, he said suddenly, glancing back at me with a smile. You don't look it. And for what it's worth, any man who forgets his wife's birthday, especially a milestone like this, is a fool. He said it so simply, so matter-of-factly, like it was the most obvious truth in the world. Something shifted in the air between us. Maybe it was the wine, maybe it was the loneliness, maybe it was 60 years of being unseen suddenly colliding with being truly looked at. Would you like a glass of wine? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. It seems wrong to drink alone on my birthday. He studied me for a long moment, and I saw the exact second he understood what was really happening, what I was really asking. The AC is going to take a while to fix, he said slowly, setting down his tools. A glass of wine sounds nice. I poured him a glass with shaking hands. We sat on my bed, my marital bed, and talked about life, about loneliness, about the things we wanted but never had the courage to reach for. And then, as naturally as breathing, his hand touched mine. The kiss started soft, tentative, like he was giving me every chance to pull away. But I didn't pull away. I leaned in. 40 years of starvation finally finding sustenance. His lips were warm and full and patient, so patient, in a way I'd never experienced. Robert had always kissed like he was checking off a box before getting to the main event. This man kissed like kissing itself was the destination. His hands moved to my face, cradling it like I was something precious, and I felt tears streaming down my cheeks again, but different tears this time. Not tears of loneliness, but tears of recognition. This was what I'd been missing, this tenderness, this attention, this feeling that I mattered, that my pleasure mattered, that I was worth taking time with. Are you sure? He whispered against my lips, and God, even that, even asking for my consent, my desire, was more than Robert had done in years. I nodded, unable to form words, and he kissed me deeper, his hands beginning to explore my body with a reverence that made me tremble. He undressed me slowly, and I waited for the shame to come, the shame of my 60-year-old body, the stretch marks, the softness where there used to be firmness. But the way he looked at me, touched me, the hunger in his eyes, it was real. He wasn't tolerating my body. He wanted it. He wanted me. When he removed his own clothes, I actually gasped. His body was magnificent. Hard muscle, taut skin, and God, that thick veined shaft standing rigid and proud between his legs, harder than iron, bigger than anything I'd ever seen or imagined. Robert had always been quick and small and soft, even at his hardest. This was different. This was power and virility and raw masculine energy that made my entire body clench with anticipation and a flutter of fear. I'll be gentle, he whispered against my lips. And God, even that, even asking for my consent, my desire, was more than Robert had done in years. I nodded, unable to form words, and he kissed me deeper, his hands beginning to explore my body with a reverence that made me tremble. His fingers found that spot I'd only recently discovered myself, and he worked it with skillful precision while kissing my neck, my shoulders, whispering how beautiful I was, how incredible I felt. The first orgasm hit me before he was even inside me, and I cried out, actually cried out, something I'd never done in my entire life. My body convulsed, pleasure radiating from my core to every nerve ending, and through the waves of sensation, I heard him groan with satisfaction at my response. "That's it," he murmured against my ear. "That's just the beginning, beautiful. I'm going to make you feel things you've never felt before." And then, slowly, carefully, he pressed inside me, and my world shattered completely. The sensation of him filling me was almost too much. A stretching, burning fullness that bordered on pain but dissolved into the most exquisite pleasure I'd ever known. He moved slowly at first, letting me adjust, watching my face with an intensity that made me feel more naked than my exposed body. "You okay?" he kept asking, and each time I could only nod, gasping, clinging to his shoulders as he pushed deeper, deeper until I felt completely consumed by him. Then he began to move with purpose, with rhythm, with a stamina that seemed impossible. 5 minutes became 10, became 20, became longer than I could track. Each thrust hit places inside me I didn't know existed, sent shockwaves through my entire body. The bed that had been a cold, lonely prison for decades became an altar of pleasure, and I was the willing sacrifice. The orgasms came in waves, one rolling into the next until I couldn't tell where one ended and another began. My voice, unused to such expressions of ecstasy, grew hoarse from crying out. My body shook, convulsed, surrendered completely to sensations I'd spent 60 years believing were fiction. He was relentless, powerful, giving me everything my body had been screaming for. And when he finally reached his own release, collapsing against me with a guttural groan, his body shuddering, I held him like a lifeline, tears streaming down my face. We lay tangled together for a long time, my body exhausted and satisfied in ways I couldn't articulate. He kissed my forehead before dressing, his eyes soft. "Happy birthday, Emma," he said simply, and then he was gone, leaving only the lingering scent of sweat and sex and transformation. I showered, changed the sheets, and moved through the rest of the evening in a daze. When Robert came home around 9, smelling of beer and lake water, I had dinner waiting. We ate together in our usual silence, discussing nothing of importance, his fishing stories, the neighbor's new fence, whether we needed more milk. For him, it was just another Tuesday. He didn't remember my birthday even when he saw me. He didn't notice that everything about me had changed. But I noticed. As I climbed into our bed that night, my body still humming with the echoes of pleasure, I realized something profound. I wasn't broken. I wasn't too old. I wasn't unworthy of desire or passion or mind-blowing sex. I had simply been with the wrong man for 40 years. That night marked the end of my old life and the beginning of something new. I didn't know yet what that meant, whether I'd leave Robert, whether I'd see that man again, whether I'd find other ways to reclaim the sexuality I'd buried for so long. But I knew one thing with absolute certainty. I would never again settle for being invisible. I would never again believe that my pleasure didn't matter. I was 60 years old, and my life was finally beginning. And now, I want to speak directly to you. Yes, you, on the other side of this screen, who listened to Emma's story until the very end. What did you think? Did her journey move you? Shock you? Maybe it made you reflect on your own life, your own desires, your own silent sacrifices. This story is real. The names and locations have been changed to protect Emma's privacy, but her experience, her pain, her awakening, all of it happened. She's one of thousands of women who've reached out to share their stories with us. Women who thought their time had passed, who believed passion was only for the young. If Emma's story resonated with you, if it made you feel less alone, please subscribe to our channel, Real Hearts After 60. Hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and tell us in the comments, do you believe it's ever too late to discover yourself? Your story matters. Your desire matters. You matter. Remember, 60 isn't the end. Sometimes it's just the beginning.